Next slide, please. So then the federal government involvement began. The Department of Education started linking funds, and this was the time when money was tight in a lot of states, to commitment to the Common Core standards. So Race to the Top money, to apply for Race to the Top money, not to get it, but to apply, states had to promise to implement Common Core and Common Core assessment. We applied, made that commitment at that time, but didn't get any money. But then the Nutella behind waivers. So if you're familiar with the law, it was that by 2014, you would have 100% of your students working at grade level in English and math. Well, there isn't a school in the state of Michigan that's close to 100%, let alone as a state goal. So no other state either, even Massachusetts wasn't close to 100%. So these waivers were considered very important, and that was where we entered. The right answer is the law should be rewritten because technically it's expired, but the Obama administration is using this law as a hammer back to states on holding us to the Common Core, even without money. They also threatened to take away Title I funding. Title I funding is the money that is for students with special needs. It's not a huge amount of money in terms of the percent of money that goes to school districts, but it makes a difference. Well, the one good thing that came out of the Supreme Court ruling for Obamacare was that states could not lose Medicaid money if they didn't do Medicaid expansion. So it translates to states could not lose Title I funding for not doing Common Core, but they could certainly prevent you from getting more. So all Michigan actually got from our commitment was the waiver. Next slide, please. So in 2010, our State Board of Education approved going with Common Core for Michigan. It was 2 weeks after the final standards were published, so there wasn't a lot of time there. Before the assessment was written, the assessments are still being written. We don't know what scores will be considered proficient. There's so much about the assessments we still don't know. With very minimal public hearing. I used to have no public hearing, and then they published that they heard from 400 people, and they were all favorable. And I said, well, when you calculate how many parents of school-age students there are and teachers alone, just out of that calculation, I came up with 0.07%. So anybody who does surveys of any sort wouldn't consider that a representative sample of feedback. With no notice to the legislature. And constitutionally, the State Board of Education and the Department of Ed are obliged to communicate to the legislature policy decisions they make that will have fiscal impact and no cost estimates. And we still can't get cost estimates. And when we ask the Department of Ed for cost estimates, they say, it's not our job to come up with cost estimates of implementation. The costs will be borne by the local districts. So that's you and me, taxpayers. But since then, schools have been implementing, right? This is the rule, the law of the land. So they're training teachers and buying textbooks and installing computer equipment. Next slide, please. And the goal is that all schools will be teaching using Common Core standards this year, with the new assessment for 2014, not next fall, but the next year. So you can understand why people like your superintendent, most superintendents, are upset with me when I'm going around giving these presentations now. They perceive that we are well down the road and it's inappropriate to change this. But I tell people, if you are driving from Michigan to Florida and you find yourself in Canada, I don't care. You're never going to get to Florida if you continue going the same direction. So it doesn't matter to me that we're down this road. It's a bad road, it's the wrong road, and so we need to change direction. Okay. So what's the current status? Tom McMillan is a representative, Michigan representative who has been our ally. He did a fantastic job. What happened, we put a policy bill into the House Education Committee, And we had a wonderful hearing. Sandra Stotsky came to speak. We had 5 experts from outside of the state come and speak. We had a teacher and a parent and a homeschooler. And it was great. The Department of Ed did a horrible, horrible job. People asked them questions and they said, I don't know. I mean, the message was they did not perceive they had to defend the decision that they had made. So then it was, well, how do we get their attention? And Tom McMillan came up with the idea of actually putting a hold on their budget expenditure so that they couldn't spend the money to do this. And we didn't hold money back. They got all their money, but they were not allowed to spend it on Common Core implementation. So that was good. And we've been conducting these debates over the summer. The House had a Common Core committee. They had 4 hearings. I can go through my whole rendition of how they weren't exactly fair and unbiased hearings, time distribution and representation. Nonetheless, in the end, they came out with a resolution that does recognize that there are a lot of problems with Common Core. And in the resolution, they articulated a lot of good things that should be fixed. The problem is, a resolution is not law. It does not have the power of statute. It's an opinion of the legislature. So I have challenged them to say, if you really believe this should be law, not just an opinion. Now it's moved over to the Senate, and Senator Pat Colbeck is our ally in the Senate. He's taking the lead on this, and I just spoke with him today, and we are trying to put forth a bill that would be an appropriations kind of bill, maybe with some power of law behind what the idea is.